Chapter 11 Following Footsteps, the 25th of February 2019. I arrived back in Lancashire, a tired but excited soul. My jaunt up to the northeast and then to Cumbria had been more than worthwhile. It had been truly extraordinary. I had not expected to unearth so much, and I still have something quite significant to unearth when I get back from the States. What on earth could be in that box? I've thought of little else since. Photographs, personal possessions, letters, objects that were so special to the three of them. I've no idea. He must have buried them, not expecting anyone to ever see the contents again, in spite of what he had said to Father Hayes. Only Father Hayes knew about it, and he had been happy to leave it untouched until I arrived unexpectedly. Over the last couple of days, I cannot believe that I've stood where Ernie has stood, visiting the places that meant so much to him. He left this country in 1948, but he returned. He was alive as recently as 2017. He was 88 years old and, as far as I can gather, in good health. So what happened to him between 1948 and 2017? Another thing that struck me very suddenly on the drive home was his name. He was no longer Daniel Frankenberg, he was Ernie Grimshaw. When did he become himself again? And so, on to the next chapter of this unfolding adventure. I fly to New York's JFK Airport on Thursday the 28th of February from Manchester at 9:10 a.m. If we are on time, we should land around midday, New York time. There isn't much else to do before then. All documentation is in place, taxi booked to the airport, and I'll do packing last minute, like any man should. I'll use the next couple of days to catch up on a few loose ends with the ancestry work and make sure there's nothing outstanding that cannot wait a week or so while I'm away. I'll go and visit my mum too. Right, Mr. Diary, I'll put you down and give you a rest. Your pages have taken quite a battering over this last few weeks. I think it might be a good idea to send a letter to Mr. Green before I go, just to keep him in the loop. I'm getting quite excited now. New York City? I can't wait. 26th of February 2019. I posted the following letter to Mr. Green this morning. He should receive it before I fly. I will write again when I return. This is an expensive trip, and I would dearly love to make it worthwhile for him. He certainly seems to trust me and is pleased with my work so far. Copy of my letter here. Dear Mr. Green, you will be pleased to know that I returned from my trip to the northeast with an increased enthusiasm and vigour. Not only was I able to substantiate Mr. Frankenberg's story, but I was able to follow a new and quite remarkable lead. Ernie did spend a long time in Seaham recuperating from tuberculosis, and it was here he met and befriended Martha Nugent, who became Martha Lewis when she married Thomas Lewis, another patient in the hospital. The friendship became a strong one, and from what I can gather, had a huge influence on Ernie and the man he grew to be. From the people I spoke to and the places I visited, Ernie left a huge impression on all he met there, and his legacy lives on. I have enclosed copies of my diary notes which go into more detail. Instinct and curiosity led me to Carlisle, Martha's hometown, where I spent the next night hoping to find more about the lady who had such a positive impact on Ernie. Again, it was a long shot, and I was not expecting to find anything, but that hunch to visit proved very worthwhile. The notes in my diary explain all, as you will see, but I was bowled over to find that Ernie had visited the city as recently as 2017. You can imagine how thrilled I was at this point, and I hope you are too. I fly to America on Thursday for a week, and I will write again on my return. Now we need to find out what happened between 1948 and 2017. Only 69 years of life to discover, but I'm enthused by the task ahead. Let's see where this journey takes us. Yours sincerely, Paul Brunskill. Copy of diary notes and invoices enclosed for your information. Right, I'm meeting Mum later for tea. She sounded pleased to hear from me on the phone. I will make this a more regular thing when I get back from America. I'll even get some flowers for her on the way over. The 27th of February 2019, 11 a.m. This time tomorrow I shall be up in the air. The taxi is coming from me at 6 a.m, so I'd better get an early night tonight. All packed. The weather forecast is good for the week. Cold but bright and clear. That should be good for the photographs. I also had a reply from Ellis Island Museum this morning. Barry Marino, museum historian, replied. It would appear that tracing records or ship arrivals and passenger logs should be fairly straightforward, even from 1948. Records were quite meticulously kept and filed, as the government was keen to establish the number of new arrivals, the demographic of ages, the mix of men, women, and children. They also recorded the nationality of arrivals to ensure quotas were met at this time, so soon after the war. America had been accused of closing its doors on the needy at the start of and before the war. The Jewish problem was a European one, not America's. They appeared to turn a political blind eye to the extent of the suffering in the 1930s and early 40s, and were keen to address this after the war by allowing thousands of new immigrants to start a new life in the self-titled home of the free world. He assured me that staff would be on hand to help with my search, but advised me to arrive early and be prepared to spend a good few hours there. I had no idea how the records were kept or how many ships arrived in New York from Hamburg in 1948. The fact that I have names and approximate ages of the three should help. Barry gave me hope of a starting point too. Many of the immigrants would have been allocated a holding bay in the city where they could stay for a short time while they tried to find work and accommodation of their own. He explained that a number of agencies were set up to help, and there was no shortage of low-skilled, low-paid manual labouring jobs for desperate newcomers. The worry for me, though, was that Ernie was there to help the twins find their parents, who arrived some 3 years earlier. They could have settled anywhere. He wasn't short of money either. Once the three of them left that terminal, there may be no records whatsoever of where they went after that. Then what do I do? The twins' parents' ship sailed in August 1945, and Ernie and the girls sailed in the spring of 1948. Annabelle and Rebecca Kaplan and Daniel Frankenberg, or Ernie, I didn't even have the first names of the girls' parents, but they were Kaplans too. He was 19 on the paperwork and the girls were 11, and that is all I have to go on. Still, I have a starting point and I'm up for the challenge. This could be fun. It was fun last night too. I forgot just how much Mum and I have in common, not least our sense of humour. She liked the flowers, definitely £7 well spent. We both agreed to spend more time with each other on my return. At the moment, I'm a very happy man. I did stress that the flowers weren't a regular occurrence, though. Well, Mr. Diary, I will sign off now and update you again when we are in the air. Don't worry, you are coming in the hand luggage with me.